Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about a massive rally that has occurred on Bitcoin over just the last 48 hours. Today, I'm going to give you over a dozen reasons why Bitcoin is about to continue that rally, and we're going to rally all the way up to $130,000 by the end of the month of October. Honestly, it's probably going to happen even sooner than that. About a month ago, we made a prediction that Bitcoin would go to $118,000 by the end of September the 17th, which happened. And our second prediction was that Bitcoin would go to $130,000 by October the 15th. That date is 13 days away. And right now, it really does look like Bitcoin could add $10,000 of value within just the next 13 days. I'm going to show you exactly why all of that's going to happen. Now, don't worry, I didn't lose the house in a short trade. We're on vacation. I just wanted to make sure I brought you this piece of content before we went and got our day started. We're going on one last vacation because Q4 is going to be absolutely nuts and we have so much content. So without much further ado, let's get started, guys. All right, Bitcoin has gone through a massive breakout. We've basically been going absolutely vertical ever since September the 28th, which was about 4 to 5 days ago. And something very important happened just yesterday, and that was that we broke through two critical levels of resistance. The first of which was this level of resistance here at the 0.618 to 0.65 Fibonacci golden pocket. This level of resistance was the level of resistance that we stopped at back on the 18th of September when we hit our first price target, which was 118,000 by the end of September the 17th. When we hit that price target, we saw the Federal Reserve cut interest rates by 0.25% while also forecasting another full 100 basis points worth of rate cuts. This actually led to a major correction on Bitcoin, and I believe that the reason that led to that coincided with a major correction was because at the time the gold market was going through a major rally. As you can see here, the gold market went on to a massive rally after that announcement from the Fed, and that took a lot of attention away from the Bitcoin market. But as you can see, the gold market is actually taking a pretty big nosedive over just the last couple of hours. And at the moment, it looks like we're building this kind of double top up here around $3,900. Now, I'm not saying gold's going to stop, because it might not, but it is starting to slow down, and that is giving Bitcoin all the fuel that it needs to violently correct back to where it should be valued at. I have a very strong conviction that Bitcoin should be trading at between $180,000 and $200,000 right now for many of the reasons we're going to go over in this video, but the price of gold is just one of them. So Bitcoin over the last 48 hours has broken through not only the Fibonacci golden pocket, which, by the way, this is what we would call like the golden gate back to the all-time high. All-time high is up here at $125,000. The bottom of the Fib retracement is down here at 107. And so this 0.618 Fibonacci level is the level to beat if you want to get back to all-time high, and we've just done that. If you zoom out a little bit more, though, you're also going to see that the Fibonacci, sorry, not the Fibonacci, the visible range volume profile gives us something called the point of control at $118,000. If we remove all the drawings here, you can see this is the largest point on the visible range volume profile, indicating that a major amount of trading has taken place at this level around 118. And that's pretty easy to see. We saw a lot of trading back here in July around $118,000. And with Bitcoin violently breaking through 118, that means that we are actually, at least for now, above the visible range volume profile. Should that continue, then that would most likely mean that we're going to see, once again, a major rally back up towards all-time high. Okay, so I want to go over our second price target. Remember, we had the first price target of $118,000 by September the 18th. That's what happened. Our second price target was $130,000 by October 15th. That's only 13 days away. That seems kind of aggressive that we're going to see a $10,000 movement in that short amount of time. But I'm going to quickly run off several of the reasons why, so bear with me. The first reason, gold has gone on a massive rally. Absolutely gargantuan rally. Gold has exploded beyond belief because of two things. Number one, there's a crisis in currencies. There's a crisis of confidence in currencies, excuse me. And so that has led to a major amount of institutional and individual inflows into gold, with gold increasing in value by 143% over just the last 3 years since the tail end of the COVID lockdowns. And the second reason that gold's going through such a big breakout is because there is an increasing push from people that have this crisis of confidence in fiat currencies towards using gold as legal tender again. This is something that is being advanced all around the United States, and you also see a kind of a gold war going on in Asia right now. India is one of the largest vaults for gold in the world. China wants to take that from them, so China is trying to be the global vault for gold. So there's a lot of things going on in the gold market right now that are driving gold's price through the moon. But the good news is that whenever gold goes on a rally, Bitcoin almost always follows, and it follows violently. And so with Bitcoin being 8 to 12 weeks behind gold, with gold going on this massive rally over the last 8 to 12 weeks, that does kind of paint us in the direction of a big rally on Bitcoin. So that's number one. I told you a dozen. Let's see if we can get up to a dozen. Number two, We just broke through the Fibonacci golden pocket. That is the gateway back to all-time high. If we hit all-time high, we're probably going to break it because of the higher lows. Number 3, we just got above the visible range volume profile, as we talked about. Number 4, we have massive amounts of institutional influx. We have right now, over just the last few days, over $1.5 billion flowing into Bitcoin, and you can bet your bottom dollar that you're going to see over $700 million worth of inflows coming into Bitcoin ETFs just today. So massive amount of inflows. You can see the total cumulative inflows for the Bitcoin ETFs are starting their next March higher. So that's number 4. Let's also talk a little bit about the Fed. The Fed has cut interest rates by 25 basis points, and we have more or less guarantee that we're going to see even more rate cuts. We have a 99% likelihood that we're going to see another rate cut in December. And also, sorry, not in December, in October the 29th, so the end of this month, another 25 basis point rate cut. And then when we get out to September, we have an 87% likelihood that we're going to see another one. So another 50 basis points worth of rate cuts coming by the end of the year. That would be the 5th reason that I believe that Bitcoin is going to absolutely and violently explode, is that the cost of capital is going to decrease, which allows for companies and individuals to borrow at a cheaper rate to invest into more appreciating assets. The reason that this is important is because there's kind of a twofold relationship here. As the cost of capital goes down, i.e., the interest rate on the debt that you're borrowing goes down, it makes the idea of borrowing to invest to look better. So if your debt is 1.25% cheaper, and the narrative of debt getting cheaper is sending risk-on assets through the roof, so instead of anticipating a 10% return, you're anticipating a 25% return. So the return's higher and the debt's cheaper, then you get this arbitrage where people are borrowing to invest. And that's what you see happen at the corporate level all the time. And that's what you see people doing in Bitcoin. They're borrowing to invest in Bitcoin. You see people doing that with stocks. They're borrowing to invest in stocks because they can borrow on, mortgage debt or an AVE or something for 0.5, maybe 10%, and they're expecting a much higher return than that. And so you end up seeing debt financing these markets. Do we like that? Who knows? Who cares? But the point is that it's happening, and it drives a lot of investment into the Bitcoin space and also into the companies behind the scenes. Okay, so another reason is M2 money supply. M2 money supply right now has absolutely taken off. This will be number 6, right? M2 money supply has absolutely taken off and just exploded. And so this is a factor that we've really got to consider on Bitcoin is the fact that Bitcoin is supposed to be a hedge against rampant inflation. So with M2 supply exploding, that does tell us that Bitcoin is most likely going to follow that. The gap between M2, if I can find it here, M2 money supply and Bitcoin is enormous at this point. There's been a major increase in the money stock globally over the last year, and Bitcoin has not really kept up with that. So I'll say that's number 6. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is the 10-year. If we look at the 10-year bond, where is it? If we look at the U.S. 10-year bond, U.S. 10-year bond, there we go. If we look at the U.S. 10-year bond, you're going to notice something very interesting. This is not what I'm looking for. Anyway, I'll just tell you. The 10-year bond is not going the way that you would think it would. You would expect the 10-year bond to go down when the effective federal funds rate was cut. Instead, it's actually gone up. And mortgage rates, for a brief moment, actually trended upwards as well as a result of the Fed's rate cut. The reason that that's so important is because it signals even more of a crisis in confidence in these fiat currencies like the United States dollar and pretty much every single other fiat currency. And so what do you do when you have a crisis of confidence in fiat currencies? Well, you invest in the gold market. What happens when gold rallies? Well, Bitcoin rallies, it just follows it. So what ends up happening is that there's a direct, albeit there's a two-step relationship between crisis of confidence in currencies and Bitcoin rallying. A crisis of confidence in currencies leads to a rally on gold. A gold rally leads to a rally on Bitcoin. And also, on the other hand, many people like myself invest in Bitcoin directly. We just forget the gold part. Gold's great, but the only gold I own is the gold that's on my finger, the 18-karat ring I'm wearing, right? So I invest in Bitcoin directly, and many other people do as well. So the gold market and the Bitcoin market do very well when there's this crisis of confidence in currencies. That's a bit of a mouthful. And we see that happening right now. It's very, very rare that the bond rate for the United States government, U.S. government treasuries goes up after a rate cut. They almost always go down. The fact that they've gone up means that people do not trust U.S. treasuries because they don't trust the way that the Treasury and the Fed are running our government and our economy and the currency. And so those are just a few reasons why I believe that Bitcoin's about to go through a major rally. But the most important thing for you to keep in mind is the fact that the technicals and the chart lines up almost perfectly. Now, Here's the caveat. Breaking through 118,000 was great. That said, $120,000 is a different beast altogether. And Bitcoin has gone basically vertical for the last week or so. That is going to lead the 4-hour and the 8-hour RSI to be very overextended. As you can see, it's up here at 80. We have not spent that much time up at this RSI level at 80 on the 4-hour chart, and even up here on the 8-hour chart up here at 74. We've not done that in a while. So Bitcoin is going to need to cool off. It's going to need a correction. What I would like to see happen would be for Bitcoin to drop all the way back down here to $115,000. Back test this downtrend, because remember, this downtrend is actually the neckline of the inverse head and shoulders pattern. If we back test that, then we can pull our price target off of that inverse head and shoulders pattern. And once again, that's pointing right at $130,000. So what I want to see happen is for you traders to be careful and not go into your longs right now when we're already on massively high RSIs, but wait for a back test and a confirmed support. Okay, because even as we're speaking, Bitcoin hit $120,000 and it's dropping pretty aggressively right now. That is not surprising. It's not surprising at all. It's what we saw yesterday when Bitcoin hit 118,000. We hit 118,000, popped up, dropped right back down to 116. Something on a slightly longer term time frame might happen where we see this small corrective movement. We're going to most likely see over the next few days a corrective movement of between $2,000 and $5,000. So I'll go ahead and write that. Before Monday, let's go ahead and write this. Before Monday, correction of $2,000 to $5,000. I've started writing down my predictions because people like to say, "Jeb, what are your predictions? They don't make any sense." This is like the third major prediction I've made recently. October 15th, Bitcoin will hit 130K. That's what I believe. Before Monday, I think you'll see a correction of between $2,000 and $5,000, if not more. That would be a drop back down, for example, to somewhere right around here. A $5,000 drop would send us back down to 115,000, which would be an excellent place to bounce and rally. And then from there, we'd be able to moonshot. And so I'm very encouraged about where Bitcoin is, and I'm very encouraged about where Bitcoin is going. But I do want you to be careful because we've gone through a massive rally over just the last few days, and I don't want you to get carried away going into a long before it's really time. You need to wait a minute. Wait for a good entry. I know you're very excited right now, but unless you're doing something really low leverage, like a 3 or a 5x long with really low liquidation, you're just going to hold it forever. You need to be very careful just because there is a very high likelihood of that small correction before we break out. And so that's what I think is going to happen. We're going to see a correction off of 120. We're going to reject there. We might even spend the weekend trying to get through there. But at some point over the next 3 to 5 days, we will break through $120,000. And then we will rally all the way up to $130,000. That's my prediction. Now, if you want to invest in Bitcoin safely, I highly recommend that you guys check out StampSeed. If you have not already, check the link down below. You can sign up for StampSeed. Get 15% off using our coupon code so you can stamp your seed phrases into titanium so they're fireproof. But the main thing that I want you to keep in mind while we are investing here is that this is a long-term play. Q4 is going to be radically different than anything you've seen in a very long time. We're most likely going to see huge gains on Bitcoin, and you're most likely going to be able to make a lot of money just by buying Bitcoin and holding. Honestly, that's what I do. The vast majority of what I do financially is I just dump Bitcoin, cash into Bitcoin, and I just hold it. Okay, and so when Bitcoin goes up even 10%, I make a freaking crap ton of money because I've just been putting money into Bitcoin for years and years and years at this point. And that is the ultimate engine that I want to get you to. I love you trading. Please trade. I mean, use our link, 2bit. You know, you're going to get into the Discord server for free. That's great. But remember, all of your wealth generating activities should be paying into what basically is your own Bitcoin treasury. That's more or less what you ought to be building, in my opinion. That's what we do. And so that's what I want to heavily encourage you to do. If you're not already investing in Bitcoin, it is not too late. Bitcoin's going to go to $1 million. That's an 8x from here, and it's probably going to happen within the next 5 to 6 years. Very low risk, very easy 8 to 10x return. Very simple. Very simple. You don't have to play the altcoin market. You don't have to pick the next big stock. You just buy Bitcoin and hold it. It really is that simple. So stay tuned. We're going to continue talking about it. But I also want to encourage you, if you have not already, to check out one of our sponsors, which is iTrust Capital. And before you click off, the reason that I want you to do this is because it's going to save you money. If you are not already using an IRA to invest in the cryptocurrency market, you're just missing out because you've got Bitcoin, which is the very best investment vehicle known to man, in my opinion. And you've also got IRAs and 401ks, which are some of the very best tax advantage accounts in the world. The issue is the vast majority of places that you have your IRA, Fidelity, Schwab, Vanguard, TD Ameritrade, wherever, the vast majority of those places, you can't buy Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies directly. There's like 100 other cryptocurrencies on iTrust. It's not just Bitcoin, right? You can't buy them directly. You have to buy ETFs. Well, on iTrust Capital, you can buy Bitcoin spot directly, actual Bitcoin that they will custody for you, and you can buy it in a traditional or a Roth IRA. The reason that that's so important is because with traditional and Roth IRA, you get tax breaks. One way or the other, you get a tax break. On a Roth IRA, you invest with post-tax money, so you don't have to pay taxes when you withdraw it into retirement. On a traditional IRA, you don't pay taxes up front because it's a deduction, then you pay taxes on the tail end. Now, there's one more reason that I want you guys to sign up for iTrust that I have not mentioned yet, as I've been kind of telling you about them, and that is this. If you trade inside of an IRA, then the taxes are way simpler because you're inside of an IRA. So you can actually do your Bitcoin trading inside of a traditional or a Roth IRA over an iTrust and forget about basically all of the taxes. It's so much simpler. It's so much simpler. That's one of the best things that people don't know. So if you have not already, make sure to sign up for iTrust Capital with the link down below. Once you fund your account, you're going to get $100 for free. We're going to give you $100 for free. Cost you nothing. All you got to do is sign up, make an account, get yourself a Roth IRA or traditional IRA set up. You can also move funds if you're like me and you've already maxed out your Roth IRA on January 1st. That's what I do. We max out. My wife and I's 14 grand day one maxed out. That's just the way it is. You can move funds over so that you have funds on iTrust Capital where you can trade with them, or you can convert some of your S&P 500 or whatever it is into Bitcoin or cryptocurrency so that you can have a tax-advantaged retirement account set up in Bitcoin. You might even set this up and say, hey, this is my long-term savings in Bitcoin. I'm not going to, I'm not going to sell this for 30 years, right? And the way that I'm going to make myself not do that is by putting it in a Roth IRA. I'm like dead serious. I'm not selling it. That's something that you can do. So I highly encourage you, if you've not already, check out iTrust Capital with a link down below. And stay tuned because there's going to be an absolutely spectacular bull market taking place in Q4. All signs are green. It could not be a more obvious bullish setup. So I'm very excited to see where we go together. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. And before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.